This is cut 4 of Dr. Phil on the ground in Chicago. Play cut 4.
What's your name?
Seda.
Seda what? Do you have a first and last name?
Sam.
Seda Sam?
Yes.
Where are you from?
Where I was born or where I'm from?
Where are you born?
Thailand.
You've been deported before from the United States?
No.
What have you been charged with
Charged with?
before?
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not talking about lawyer.
You've been charged with sex crimes with children?
Not really.
Well, this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? We got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children, and he's walking the streets of Chicago. Again, the downfall, the problem with the sanctuary city, that people like us walking the street rather than local law enforcement working with federal agents. This is what we're dealing with.
Dr. Phil, one thing that strikes me is his attitude. It seems like there's no remorse. There's almost an arrogance, a pomposity, Dr. Phil.
The belligerence is just kind of astounding. I talked to Mr. Homan about that when we were in the car. You've been arrested for convicted of sex crimes? Not really. Not really. Either you are or you aren't. And the whole idea that he's just floating around out there in the city now, it's 6 a.m., Charlie. I'm pretty sure this guy's not on the way to or from work. He didn't seem like it to me. I'm just conjecturing. I don't know. But what's this guy doing out in? It's still dark out, and he's out floating around the city. I'm guessing up to no good, and he's got no remorse whatsoever. He's not ashamed. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any feelings about it one way or another. It's just like, yeah, casual, whatever. And look at all of the agents around, and they're in the periphery because they're making sure nobody walks out of their houses. They're trying to keep this as safe as possible. How simple would this be if they were able to just walk in and transfer him from a jail into ICE custody and out of the country? And how many years has he been out all night long like this, walking around? And again, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he is on the way home from work. Maybe so. I don't know. But how many years has he been out floating around and committing other crimes? It just doesn't have to happen. And when you get these people identified, they need to be out of the country. He shouldn't be here to begin with to commit the crimes that he's committing. And when he is located again, so he can be taken out of this country, people should be standing up to these ICE agents and saying thank you instead of fear-mongering and making people afraid to go to school or afraid to go to their jobs because that's not what they're doing. But if they're forced into the community and they arrest someone like this, they're going to ask who's with them. And they are going to take out other people that maybe aren't violent criminals, but are with someone like this. They're going to ask, what's your deal? And they're going to take out other people. It would be much better for those that don't want nonviolence taken out if they would let them go into the jail. They would take them out, move on to the next violent criminal, and not be looking at others right now.
Dr. Phil, I want to play another piece of tape here of from Merit TV, your conversation with Tom Homan, echoing some of these sentiments, but seeing it in raw video form is very powerful. Play cut 3.
So forget the false narrative of sweeping neighborhoods looking for people of different color than us. Forget that hogwash and look at what we actually did. We're proving it to them. How can you argue with the system we've set up?
Well, straight up, are you going into schools and arresting children at schools?
No.
Is anything like that happening?
No, sir.
Are you going into businesses and sweeping through there and taking anybody with a tan and seeing where they're from?
We go into businesses for a criminal enforcement operation, but again, sweeps don't occur anywhere.
The sweeps are not occurring. You're just not going in like seining for fish in a pond and just picking up. You're going targeted. If a criminal is working in a business and you have to pick them up there, you're going in for that target.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Phil, you might not have the answer to this, but then it begs the question, there is a list, and they know where a lot of these people are. How long is that list? How thorough is that? I'm not sure if you had that discussion with Tom Homan or not.
I did have that discussion, and I was permitted to be part of a briefing that took place that morning. And the briefing didn't, obviously, the investigation didn't start that morning. They had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of multi-agency man hours in on putting together a list. And I think they had 270 people on the target list that morning. And these were people that they had identified as violent criminals. And if you saw the wall behind me there with the white pages tacked up on the wall, these are arrests that had been made in Chicago there. You can see them. And as you look across there, if you could be close enough to read, which you can't, but it was murderer, violent, aggravated assault, child rapist, sex crimes against children. All of these people that were arrested and being taken out of the community, all of these had files, and they had done investigations on these people, gotten their rap sheets, known where they had dwellings. Some of them had been under surveillance. There were arms dealers in there, drug dealers in there, traffickers in there, all in this group of 270, and gang members, MS-13, TDA, all of these gang members. And, these Venezuelans, for example, come into the city, and the first thing they do is find their countrymen that are here, and they start extorting and bullying them, taking advantage of them, and then they start spreading out from there. So these are bad actors, Charlie, and they're dangerous. They're armed. Many of them are armed, and they just create a real threat to the community. And that's who they're targeting. That's who they're after. And Tom Homan told me they have three objectives. One, seal the border so we don't continue to have these people flowing into the country. Number two, take the violent criminals off the street. And number three, find and rescue these hundreds of thousands of missing children that have been brought into this country and trafficked into slave labor or sex work in some way. That's their three-prong agenda right now. And the focus is worst first right now in the beginning, and they've got plenty of worst to get to for a long time.
So Dr. Phil, in closing here, and thank you for your time, what is your general analysis and take on the pace at which the president is operating? I know you've had the opportunity to interview him before and know the president for quite some time. It is a breakneck speed. What is your take on how President Trump has started this first week and a half?
Look, whether you like President Trump or whether you don't, whether you voted for him or whether you didn't, he told people what he was going to do, and he is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He didn't make a bunch of campaign promises and then sit around and waffle on this, waffle on that. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's pursuing the priorities that he set out so people knew. He said, you left the border open, you let all of these people come in, I'm going to start getting them out from day one, minute one, and that's exactly what has been happening. Now, you may not like that. You may feel like, hey, I don't want to take these people out of the community, but that's what he said he was going to do, and he's doing it. And he's doing it with vigor. He's doing it with zeal. The Secretary of Defense was on the ground in New York yesterday. I work extensively with NYPD. They were there, and they took down a major gang leader there, and that's continuing. Those operations are continuing. And Charlie, I can't tell you the pride among these multi-agency agents in that room. They're proud of what President Trump has let them loose to do. They've been social workers for 4 years. Now they're allowed to do what they signed up to do.